You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rosetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me tonight. I'm Stacy Rosetti, and for everybody that doesn't know me, I teach every Monday night how to get started in self-storage investing. So if you are wondering right now what is going on with the world and what's going on with the United States and where should I put my money and what should I be doing to, protect myself over the next couple of years while we have a downturn, and, all these types of thoughts that pretty much everybody has in their mind. I mean, especially me, I'm having these as well too. So, I just want to say that you are in the right spot, because self-storage and investing in self-storage is one of the best places that you could be investing in right now. Very stabilized. And we've got price increases and price decreases. And I've noticed over the past maybe couple of months that, prices of facilities are going down. Also in the last couple of months, and you guys tell me what y'all are seeing in the market if you've been out there looking, but there are a lot of storage facilities for sale right now. There are a lot of storage facilities for sale. I've never seen so many facilities on Crexi or LoopNet. Now, I personally do not buy facilities on Crexi or LoopNet, right? Tonight, we are going to be talking about, the two fastest ways for you to make money in self-storage investing. And one of the ways that we're going to be talking about, obviously, is just going directly to the owner. And if you follow me every Monday night, all of the 13 facilities that we own, because we just closed on a facility today, all of the 13 facilities that we own are just direct to the owner. Okay, so that is where you're going to make the most amount of money, is by going directly to the owner. And I've just noticed, and actually I've seen a couple of students, honestly, I've seen some students listing properties that started with me in my coaching, like started in 2019, and then they're selling them now. So they bought facilities in 2019. So 2019, 20, 21, 22. So they've had them 2 or 3 years. And they've listed their properties for sale because they've, somewhat stabilized the properties and stuff, but they listed the properties for too much. And I told them they were too high. I said, this is too high. If you're going to list your property for sale, and that's any property, I would say any property, if you want to sell it quickly, then you should be 20% under market. All right. That's my opinion. What do you guys think about this? If you want to sell a property, and we're going to be selling a few of our storage facilities over the course of the next couple of months. We've been working on, my husband, Pete, is the person that kind of manages all of our facilities. He has been working on really getting all of our facilities kind of up and cleaned up, looking good, so we can sell them. And, and so if you want to be selling your properties, you should be at 20% below what everybody else is. So if you can't sell your properties at 20% below what everybody else is, then it's not the right time to sell. You should just hold on to your properties. And that's my personal opinion. And so we are definitely going to be selling a couple of our properties because we want to be able to 1031 exchange those next year into something bigger when better deals come on the market. But I watch the market. Actually, what I do is I set up on Crexi. I set up emails. Any storage facility that comes on the market, I want it to be emailed to me as soon as it comes onto the market, so I could see what it looks like. Now, I've never bought anything off Crexi, but I want to just know what's coming on the market, what's for sale. And so Crexi, what they do, if you haven't signed up for them yet, is that they'll email you on a daily or a weekly basis. I do weekly, on a weekly basis. to see all the facilities that are coming on the market. So I highly recommend that y'all do that as well too. And I just do nationwide. I just want to know every storage facility that's for sale. And actually we can get into Crexi right now just so I can show you what it looks like. And I have access to Crexi as an investor. They have an investor software that you can get into. So let's go for sale. So it'll look a little bit different if you go to Crexi and sign up. It'll look a little bit different because the way that I have it, I have an investor account with them is what I have. I paid for that. And if anybody's interested in getting the investor account, then you email me and let us know. So you can email questions@stacyrosetti.com, and then we can introduce you to Grant, who is my account specialist or what have you, and he can hook you up with the Stacy special because if you don't go through mine, it's going to be more expensive. But so all I'm doing is getting into Crexi and just looking up for sale. See, 662 storage facilities are for sale right now in the entire country. I've never seen this many storage facilities for sale. It was always up until like last year. It was like up, it was in the 300s, maybe 400s, but never 600-700 units. That's crazy, I think. Now, while we're listening, can you guys guess how many storage facilities are there in the country? The question of the day, put it into the chat. How many storage facilities are for sale? All right. I'm sorry. No, how many storage facilities are there? Like total, how many storage facilities? Any guesses? All right, so let me see. We're getting 60K. Yeah, good. This is Wendy from New Jersey. Hi, Wendy. And let's see. Let me go on to Restream and see what Restream looks like. And we've got a couple people doing. Why do you think there are so many for sale? Good question, Joe. Yeah, so like people are just freaking out right now. They really are, and they're thinking exactly the way I am. Why am I going to sell my facilities? Right? So I want some cash for next year to be able to buy some bigger facilities. Okay. I'm moving on up, right? I started with everybody knows I started with little tiny facilities, 100 units, and I'm slowly now moving into bigger facilities, anywhere between $1 million and $3 million. And I also, purchased these types of facilities for the fund. So, so I need some cash in order to be able to do that. So I'm selling some of my facilities. And and the thing is too, and actually this is like the purpose of this webinar tonight is to talk about the two fastest ways for you to make money in self-storage. And one of them is obviously going to the owner and purchasing directly from the owner so that you can get the best deals. All right, because going on to Crexi, then the only way that you can list on Crexi is through a realtor, and then you have a realtor that you have to pay as well too, and all the fees and everything. And it just kind of adds up, right? So you don't have to do that if you go directly to the owner. And then also a lot of times the owners, they really don't know what their property is worth. I would say like to educate the owners on what their properties are worth, right? So you give them an offer, right? We do that through our magic letter. But but in order to make the most money, then going directly to the owner is going to be the best way. Okay, so we all know that. We're all learning how to do that. That's why you're here. And that's how I bought all my facilities. We go directly to the owner. The owner, and actually the facility that we closed on today is in Macon, Georgia. If anybody's ever heard of Macon, it's a little tiny town. Not a little tiny town. I guess it's not a little tiny town. That's true. It's like a medium-sized town, I guess. It's a secondary market is what I would call it. So let me see. I'm going to pull it up here on the computer so you can see Macon, Georgia. And Macon, Georgia is kind of like a rental. It's like an industrial rental kind of town. Do you guys have these in your states, where it's a very industrious, very like, houses are really affordable, this kind of a thing. So that's kind of how Macon is, of Macon, Georgia, is, yeah, 150,000. Okay. And probably more, probably a little bit more now, but around 150,000 people. Okay. And this is where Macon is. All right. And we closed on a storage facility today. I'm really excited about it. And so I'll share with you how we're going to make money on this facility as well too. But one of the fastest ways is to go directly to the owner, and then ask the owner if they're interested in selling, and then educate the owner, right? It's your job as the investor to educate the owner on what their property is worth. And you do that by using the magic letter. The magic letter, if you guys don't know yet, is basically just giving the owner several different offers, right? Giving them, a whole bunch of different offers, sometimes a cash offer, some owner financing offers, bank financing offer. And, it's so funny because we had a lender that came on to our mastermind last week, and he was telling us a couple of other ways too, which I thought were great ways. And I was like, oh, I need to add these to the magic letter. And one of the ways, he said, he's a lender that only works really in storage, like mostly does storage. And he said what he was seeing right now was two different things. One of them was called like lease to own, right? So storage facility owners, what they could lease their storage facility out to somebody else if they wanted to sell it. And then they lease it for a couple of years, right? Maybe a year or 2 years for the buyer, for you as the buyer to be able to purchase the facility and run it and manage it, and then run it for a couple of years and then decide if you really want to buy it. Or what you do, and it's a very good way for you to do, it's a very good strategy for you to do something like this if it's a mismanaged facility. If it's a mismanaged facility and it's not worth what the owner wants to sell it for, then what you could do is work out with the owner that you can do what's called lease to own, which I thought was a very, very good, cool strategy. And I didn't realize that you could, it's kind of owner financing, but instead of owner financing, you're not changing the deed over. You're just rent to own is what it is, really, is what it is. So I thought that was really good. So I'm already going to implement that onto the magic letter. If I come up with properties, I could say, look, here's another option for you. I like to give the owner a lot of options, honestly. And then the other thing that he brought up, which I thought was really cool, and eventually I'll get more into these once I'll teach this more and more once I, do these strategies a little bit better. And then the other one that he said was to do the owner can do seller financing on on a second. So what would happen is that you go to the lender and the lender says, look, I'm only going to give you X amount of dollars. Like you have this thing, and actually I had a property that I probably could have used this for, and I didn't even think about this, but I had a property under contract for $1.5 million. And I went to the bank, and the bank told me that the property was only worth $1.2 million, and they would finance $1.2 million, but they would not finance the 1.5. So essentially what we could have done is we could have got a bank loan for the $1.2 million. And then the other $200,000 or $300,000 on the back end, then you can finance, you can have a second from the owner for that 2 or 3, whatever amount of money it is, but a couple $100,000. Okay. So that was another thing that he brought, that the lender brought up, which I thought was very good. And it's so funny because I was talking to an owner the other day, and he said, I really want to have, I can't even remember what the numbers was. I really want to have X amount of dollars, for the property. And I was like, honestly, it's really not worth that much. I said, the bank is really only going to finance whatever, 800,000, and you want 1.2 million. I said, it's not, the issue is the bank isn't going to finance. And so then I said, but if you're open to it, what if I got a bank to give me the loan for the 800,000, and then you come in and you finance with a second on the other part of it? Would you be open to that? He said, yeah, actually, I would be open to that. And I just ran like that. I literally just learned about that like last week. And then I talked to an owner and brought it up. And he said, yeah, I'd do that. I was like, man, that's such a good strategy. So we're also going to add that to the magic letter as well, too. And which is so funny because then I talked to another guy that hired me as a consultant to like kind of run some numbers on a deal. And he had put an offer in for a property. It was like $2.5 million. And then he needs $250,000 down for the down payment. So he asked the owner if the owner would owner finance the down payment to him. And the owner said yes, which is another strategy that I think would be awesome. If you can't afford the down payment, why don't you just ask the owner to owner finance the down payment, right? If it's super big or whatever. So, and I was talking to a student today and she brought that up. She says, I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford like all of the down payment. Do you think that the owner would owner finance it? And I said, yes. I said, that is a great strategy and you should totally ask the owner. So my point is that over the course of the next couple of years, as more and more of these facilities come on the market, I want you to start broadening your horizons on like how you're going to be able to fund these, because we all know that banks are becoming more and more conservative. Okay, we are running our numbers right now at 25% down and 7% interest. Okay, that's what we're running our numbers at, because we don't know really if we were going to even finance a loan. We don't know where that interest rate is going to be in like 90 days or 120 days. I mean, they could easily raise rates from now until March. We know that, right? Because this is what Jerome Powell is saying. It's like through March, possibly. And then we'll just hold it stable. And then they could keep it like they could keep raising the rates and then hold it stable for a year, right? I think really honestly, something like that's going to happen, right? So we need to be running our numbers at like what we're going to be paying in interest, in like, the time that we're actually going to be closing that. And I keep telling my students this as well, too. And my virtual assistants, this is how we're doing it. This is how we're running numbers. Now, obviously, you can go and you can get an SBA loan, right? And you can, you can put, everybody thinks that you could put 10% down for SBA, but in the end, I would really calculate 15%, because I feel like I've seen a lot of students getting SBA loans and they always say 10%. And then like a week or two before closing, they come back and say 15%. They always do this. So I would say, especially if you're a newbie, because the lender that came in and talked to us at the mastermind, he said newbies are really hard. Like they're not going to do 15, they're not going to do 10%, they'll do 15%. Right. So, so run your numbers. If you're going to do an SBA loan, you run your numbers at 10 or 15% based on the experience that you have, but still the interest rate is prime +1. And we've seen now prime +2 and prime +3, right? Depending on your experience, like, with SBA. So you want to be really careful with that. So, and then you go to a conventional bank and it's 25% down and 7% interest. Okay. And so you just want to be kind of leery about the financing, the financing that's coming up over the course of the next couple of months. And so going on to Crexy and finding deals, you want to make sure you're running your numbers, especially if they're running them high. You want to be running your numbers at the correct number, right? At the closing table, for the closing table. And so, one of the fastest ways for you to make money in self-storage, in my personal opinion, is going directly to the owner and then giving the owner lots of options. All right. And I'm going to be talking about creative deal structuring more and more over the course of the next 6 months to a year, because this is what's going to really start happening. And actually, I started in real estate in 2010. And I did rehabs is what I did. So for 5 years, I did rehabs. And then I got pregnant with Lillian. And then that's when I moved over to storage because I wanted to stay home with her and be with her. And but those like in 2010 and 2011, 2013, like those years, right? If you think about it, I don't know if anybody has been investing in real estate since that long, but in 2010, 11, and 12, there was not a lot of lenders out there. I mean, they had all gone bust, right? And there were not a lot of banks that were lending, but there were a lot of like hard money lenders that were like, it was like crazy, like percentages, like 15 and 5 points and all this stuff. So you need, so really I had to really learn how to be creative. So I'm really actually blessed for like going through that time period, because two things that I learned during that time frame as an investor, one of them was how to raise money, right? Which is something that you're going to have to be focusing, and I will be focusing on this as well too for everybody every Monday over the course of the next, year. How are we going to raise money? How are we going to finance these things? And, what kind of creative deal structuring can we do in order to close deals? And actually, when you talk to your lender, just like we had Kavi come on and talk to us, when you talk to your lenders, I mean, if they're just like, no, I'm only like 25% and 25% down and 7% interest, then, you really need to be like looking for more lenders to be working with, because when you only work with a lender that only has like one type of term, right? That's the only term that they know. But if you go and find like some sort of a broker that's like, look, no, we're going to figure out how to get this deal done. Those are really the best lenders to work with, right? And so from 2010 to 2013, I really learned how to be creative. I learned about making a lot of offers to owners. So I want to just be repetitive of that. We'll be talking about like, not only making cash offers, but owner financing offers, and then also bank financing, and then also creative deal structures like lease to own, and like, owner carrybacks. Basically, that's what's called an owner carryback. Carryback is what it is. Okay. So those are going to be some really good structures, I think, that everybody will be able to learn over the course of the next couple of months. If you come on Mondays, every Monday is a different topic. So just come hang out with me. And then also, yeah. So and then the other thing is really what I got really, really good at is raising money. And I have no qualms. I have no qualms at all with asking people for money. Like, I mean, because I had to close on this storage facility that we close on today. And all the last 2 weeks, I was like, who has $50,000? Who has $50,000? And I was just emailing everybody I knew and just asking them for $50,000. And $50,000 seems like a good amount of money for people to, they're like, yeah, I can do 50 grand. When you start asking for like 100 grand or 200 grand, and they're like, oh, well, I have to really like, look into this and I have to really like analyze it and stuff. But a lot of people with 50 grand. So just keep that in mind too. I think 50 grand is the magical number. And with private money. But yeah, but I learned how to raise money, and basically raising money just means like asking people that right? Asking people that whether or not they want to like lend you money or partner with you. And we'll get into that as well too over the course of the next 6 months, because it's going to be super important for you to learn how to raise money. Commercial real estate is expensive. All right. So you could do one deal and that's it, because you don't know how to raise money. Right. And the truth is like things are getting more expensive. Right. And then Steve asks, how many lenders can be part of one deal? Yeah, so you can't put a whole bunch of non-accredited investors together, right? The SEC does not like this at all. But you can put, a couple of people together that that know you and trust you, right? So you can't go ask strangers for money, but you can ask people that know you and trust you and like you, right? And but you can't, so a couple of them is good, but not a lot. So for instance, say if you could put 3 or 4 people that have 50 grand in it, that's like a $200,000 down. I'm partnering right now with the students, and there's 4 of us in that deal. We all gave a little bit different amount of money, but we partnered, and then we created a company. And that company that had the down payment. It was a $3 million property, but that company had a down payment enough to make for a $3 million property. So yeah, so somebody's asking, I'm fairly new to this. This is my first time with this. Perfect. Okay, what's the cash on cash we usually get on storage? So we shoot for us personally when I'm looking for deals, and all of my students when I train them. Actually, are there any students on here that can answer that question? What is the cash on cash percentage that we look for when we look for deals? I don't know if there's any students on here. Put it into the chat. All right. What's the cash on cash? Steve, you're not one of my students. Jason, okay, good. Everybody's guessing. What cash on cash do you want? So Steve is like, I want 20%, right? I would love 20% too, honestly. But Chris is a student. Good. Thank you. 10%. So we shoot for 10% cash on cash return. That's cash. It's if you pay cash. And obviously you'll get more money if you go to a bank. If you leverage your money, then you want more money. Right? But we shoot for 10% or higher. So when we run our numbers on our deal analyzer, that's like the buffer is like 10%. Okay. But of course, obviously we want more money than that. But like now income producing properties, a lot of times like 10% is a good number for an income producing property that you can't really, that you can maybe raise the rates a little bit on. And then, over time, you're just, building a little bit of appreciation, right? This is like the least risky type of deal. Is an income producing property that, makes 10% or 12% cash on cash return. It's just a good buy and hold, right? Now, personally, I buy mismanaged facilities. I buy like severely depleted, horrible facilities. Why? Because the cash on cash return is going to be like way better than that. Okay. But that's like where you have to come out of pocket every single month. You have to clean. So 10% cash on cash return for an income producing property is good. Mismanaged facilities, right? We want like way better cash on cash return. So I'll give you an example. I'll show you the one that we just closed on. This is going into the fund, right? And this is going into my fund because I'm sharing the wealth. I love sharing the wealth with all my investors. So let me pull this up real fast and we'll see. I'll show you what it looks like. Hang on. All right. This is the one that we just closed on today. Let me show you some pictures of this thing. And this is, and the topic today is really what's the fastest way to make money in self-storage? Mismanaged facilities is going to be one of the fastest ways to make money and like to make a lot of money in self-storage. It's a lot more work though. So the question is, how much work and effort do you want to put in, right, to the deal? Do you want to come say hi to everybody and say it real fast? Come on, my husband's talking to me. Come say hi.
Well, I won't. Oh, hi. Well, we'll both kind of show up.
See, my husband's listening into the podcast and into the webinar. Go ahead.
Every once in a while.
Okay.
I was thinking, she mentioned the quickest way to make the most amount of money is always on the buy. We had our in-field training day over the weekend, and we were kind of going over a couple properties we had in Florida, and everyone's always astounded at how cheap Stacy picks up these properties, because really it's just a mismanaged issue. So we can get them up to value pretty quick, but she negotiates pretty hard, I guess. I don't. She's really good at what she does.
Smooth talker.
She's a smooth talker, yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm gonna show them max to give them an idea.
But yeah, it's definitely on the buy is where you make your money. I mean, she's at least triples the value in under a year just by managing it correctly.
Okay. So let me go back to my virtual background so you don't see my ugly curtains and stuff here, or my older curtain, not ugly, but older curtain.
Not even ours yet.
They're not, yeah. Okay, so here you go. Let me see. One that we just closed on today. So this is what it looks like. So this is like the blue color. Let me see if I can go. And then you could see back here it was not painted blue. And this big building right here, this is like a big warehouse actually that somebody could be renting out, but it's just like filled with crap and stuff is really what it is, right? So this is what it looks like. And you can see this building was never painted. These two buildings back here were never painted. He started painting it, and he was also he's very, you know, he loves his sign. He worked really hard on this sign right here. Okay. Essentially what we do is we buy the ugliest storage facilities in town is what we do. Okay. So here's what it looks like. Okay. And let me show you oh yeah, this is it. Yeah. So, this facility is right here. And you can see there's a long, like a building right here. This is like a big building. Here's another building. Here's building. There's like 7 or 8 buildings. There's a lot. And guess what? It's on 6 acres. 6 acres of land. So this all back here is all included. And it actually it comes out on this. So we could actually make another, you know, entrance if we wanted to. It's like over here. This is huge, big property, 6 acres. Okay. This property right here is for sale for $1.7 million. Okay. This one right here is for sale for $1.7 million. I don't know how many units it is, but the owner told me that it's only 10 feet. It's only 10 feet. This one's 15 feet. So it's kind of squished together a little bit too. And we got lots of room on ours. Right. And let me see. And yeah, so this is one parcel of land. This is one parcel. And then this parcel right here is also included as well. Okay. So that's all this. Let me see. This facility, remember I showed you the picture, is actually 171 units. It's 171 units. All right. But he only has 92 units that work. Okay. And so the other, like whatever it is, less than 80 or whatever, 80 units, the doors are broken and the latches there's something going on with that unit. Okay. So again, like I said, it's 171 units, 20,000 square feet. And he's only making $14,000 a year. All right. So he's not making any money. He's making $1,000 a month is what he's making. The 92 units are at 15,000. So I mean, 14,635. Okay. And we added $200,000 in CapEx. All right. So obviously it's not worth, you know, if you run the numbers, it's not worth anything. And typically I buy my facilities at -2 caps all the time. I buy my facilities always at like super low cap rates and negative cap rates, because what that means is that the company's just not making any money. You know, it's not. I mean, he has 171 units and he's only making 14,000. He really has 92 units that he could rent out and he's only making $14,000. Okay. And so this is what I consider a very severely mismanaged facility. Now it needs a lot of work, right? New doors, clean up. I mean, it's going to take us 18 to 24 months to, clean this thing up and start making some money on it. And this is what I tell my investors. But once we get it cleaned up, just the 171 units is worth $2 million. Okay, just the 171. I mean, once we get the 171 units filled up, we will have to. And then on top of that, it's got all the acres, the 6 acres, right? So both acres are like, both of them are like 3-acre lots. Okay. And then it's got the warehouse as well too that we can clean up. Let me see if I could go back to this real fast. And then it's got a huge big space that you could do parking as well. This whole area, like in the front, is this massive, huge space that you could do parking. And also there could be parking down here in the back as well too. And if you wanted to add on and clear up this area, you could do that as well too. Okay. So lots of opportunity in this deal, but it's severely mismanaged, right? And anybody could really buy this deal. It's only all in at 550 grand. I mean, it's not a very big, large deal, but 550 grand for 171 units is a very, very good price, right? Very good price. So in 18 months, we'll make, $1.5 million, right? And then in 18 months, we'll decide, what we want to do. We want to refi out and then leverage that money and go buy another facility, or do we want to just pay all the investors back and then everybody can just reap the rewards? And the cap rate, actually, somebody's asking about cap rate. We're running the cap rate at a 7 cap because it's Macon. I mean, essentially, Macon has 150,000 people in it, so it's definitely not a 6 cap and it's not an 8 cap. So it's going to be somewhere around a 7 cap. So I think a 7 cap is a very fair cap rate to be running numbers at. Now you guys all know that when you buy a facility like this, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of effort, and your risk level essentially is, it's a different type of risk level. You have income producing properties. A lot of people just want to buy income producing properties. They don't want to do their work. They just want to make cash flow, right? And a little bit of appreciation on the back end. And there's nothing wrong with those. And those are everywhere as well too. The type of facilities that we buy are the ugliest facility in town. And then what my husband does is he stabilizes those properties. And then, in every single property, all 12 of the other ones that we've bought. So we have 2 now in the fund. And then the 11 that we own personally are all exactly like this. We can take the property and we can double or triple or quadruple the value of the property in 18 to 24 months. Okay, that is the fastest. Way to make money in the purchase, like my husband said, in the purchase. All right. And then Lisa says, why would you not buy a high cash flowing property? Yeah, because we like the bigger appreciation on the back end is what we like. We want to make, $1 million on the back end when we sell it. And a lot of times you can. Now, obviously, some facilities you can do that. If I can get a cash flowing property, one of the deals that we have in the fund, we bought it for $1 million. It's worth $3 million, and it's making $100,000 a year. All right, so that's a cash flowing property, that will be able to make money on the back end as well too. So those are out there as well too. But that would be considered a mismanaged facility because it was supposed to be making $20,000 a year, to $20,000 to $25,000, a month, and it's only making $10,000 a month. Okay, so that's still a mismanaged facility. In fact, the owner of that facility is he was charging $20 for a 10 by 10, and we raised the rate to $100. All right, because that's what the market rate goes for. So if you can find those, awesome as well too. Okay. And, so it's just really kind of your risk level. Okay. Let me see anybody else. Let's see. And then, let's see, let me get into Restream, and I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions in there as well too. So that's 180 units. Tall W says, yeah. Hey guys. Okay. Perfect. Everybody's hopping on. I appreciate everybody hopping on here. And then Verk is saying manage our properties. And then Tyler's saying, are there key indicators that show a facility is severely mismanaged? Well, I just went over the deal, right? Actually, I mean, how much money is it making versus like what the average price per square foot is and what the average price per square foot could be, right? That's really kind of the key. And so just keep that in mind, so what's the average price per square foot? What is it making right now? And what could it be making, right? So for instance, on the one that we have right here, let me get back and show it to you. It's at 66 cents a square foot. and it should be at 78 cents a square foot. And actually 78 cents a square foot, what we did is we went to, there's like 3 or 4 competitors in the area. So my husband went over there and of course checked out the facility, and then he went to every single competitor in the area, and he actually went into like a couple of the facilities and said, hey, I'd be interested in renting a unit out. And like, some of them have offices and stuff, same size, and they'll have offices, and you walk in. And then everybody was at like between 85 to 90 cents a square foot, and as our competitors, right? So we decided to be at 78 cents a square foot because we wanted to be more competitive. So we ran our numbers at 78 cents a square foot, but you can see the price difference. You can see that here, right? And doing the competitive analysis is really important, so you could see what you could do. Okay. I see some more people in chat here. And then everybody's asking about the magic letter and the deal analyzer. The magic letter and the deal analyzer are right now only offered to my students, all right, in my coaching program. This deal analyzer right here is only offered to my students, as well as the magic letter. Okay. So I may change that in the future, I'm not sure, but for now, that's it. Now the course, the super simple self-storage course, does have a deal analyzer in it. It's almost exactly like this one, except for this one has a couple more tabs on it. This one you can do owner financing on, and the other one you cannot. And actually, up until just a couple of months ago, everybody used that. All my coaching students used the other deal analyzer. So I haven't quite released this to the public yet. All right. I'm having all my virtual assistants use this deal analyzer. I'm having all of my my students use this deal analyzer, and maybe later I might release it to the public, but I want to make sure everything's perfect first. Okay. So you have to hang on. That'll be like next year sometime, or just get the deal and get the course, and you will have the deal analyzer in there. It just doesn't have the owner financing section in it. Okay. Let's see what else. So let me get in here. Now I have the second way. We have 15 minutes. I want to make sure I get into this. The second fastest way to make money in self-storage investing, right? So the first way is like in the buy, like Pete says, and then mismanaged facilities versus income producing properties. And then the second way is wholesaling. Wholesaling self-storage, y'all. That's where it's at. Okay. And I just had one of my students come into the mastermind, and he started 4 years ago with me, and he's wholesaled 17 storage facilities and bought several himself. Right. What he does, so, and I'll get into wholesaling in just a second, but what his strategy is if they will owner finance, I will purchase the property myself. But if they don't owner finance, then I'm going to wholesale the property, which I think is a very, very good strategy. Right. And so for a lot of you, especially if you don't have any money right now, you're listening to me, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. And this, Stacy says everything's expensive, which is true. It is expensive. Then what you can do is you can wholesale self-storage. Okay. In my course, we have a whole section on wholesaling self-storage. Essentially, what that means is that you are the middle person between the buyer and the seller. Right. So you go out and you talk to owners, just like we talked about at the beginning of the session. And you get the owner to put the facility under contract, right? And you, for whatever price that you get it. And it could be owner financed. It could be lease to own. It could be the owner's carrying a second back. It could be cash. It could be bank financing, whatever the owner wants to do, right? And you can wholesale any facility that has any strategy at all, because everybody will do all the strategies. Everybody will buy something even with the strategy on it. So you don't have to say, because the thing with wholesaling in the real estate world is like, oh, you have to make a cash offer. But that's not true. It's not true. You just have to make offers. because really it's a numbers game anyways, right? And you want to make offers, and you want to give the owner lots of options, right? I mean, nobody ever makes me offers. We got 13 facilities. We never get any offers at all. And we've done $60 million worth of offers in the last couple of months. And we got a lot of offers. And every offer that we send out has at least 4 different offers, if not more. Right. And the owners, I mean, a lot of times the owner's like, man, I never got an offer letter like that before. It's always just like some, one offer, a cash offer. So you need to learn how to wholesale. So you go to the owner, you put the facility under contract with your offer. And then you go out into the world, and you need to put it under contract. All right. You have to put this under contract. And because then that means that, and you have to pay the earnest money. Okay. And like, you just have $1,000 earnest money. Don't even put that much money down, right? Just like $1,000 at the most. Okay. And I mean, sometimes if it's like a huge, big facility, they want like a more down payment. But honestly, I've never put anything more than like $1,000 down on this one that I just closed, the $1 million one that we just closed. Like, I just put $1,000 down. So like, people think that you have to put 5 or 10,000. I don't have enough money for the earnest money, but just put $1,000. And now every once in a while you'll get an owner that's like, oh, I need to see proof of funds. I need this. And it's just like, all right, well then I'll just move on to the next person. But yeah, so you're going to put the facility under contract, and then you're going to go out, you're going to pay your earnest money so that you create what's called equitable interest in the transaction. Right? Because as a wholesale, the only way that you can sell and market property is if it's your own property. And the only way that you can market, like, as somebody else's property is if you have equitable interest in that property, right? Like as a realtor, you just, have them sign a contract and you have a license, and then you can go and do it, right? But as a wholesaler, you have to have the property under contract. Okay. And so then once you get it under contract and you pay your earnest money, then you can just go out to the world and try to find a buyer for that facility. And then you'll just mark that property up just a little bit, like, don't be greedy. It's so annoying to me when like wholesalers are greedy, because what it does is just like screws up the whole deal. And then you end up not selling it in the first place. Right. So if you can make 25 or 50 grand, then you should be like so happy. Right. And you mark it up just a little bit so that you can make some money on that deal. And then you sell it to the person that wants to buy it, and then they basically put it under contract and they purchase it. I do this all the time with my students. We have several under contract, because we have what's called turnkey acquisitions, where all like my virtual assistants will go out and find property for my students. That's one of the programs that we offer. And so like my virtual assistant will like put offers in, right? And then, finally somebody will accept an offer, and then one of my students and I'll put it under contract. I'll pay the interest. I'll pay the earnest money. And then we'll go out, we'll just, find one of our students to buy the deal, and then they'll be able to buy it. Okay. And so we do that quite often. It's just called wholesaling. All right. Now, some states it's illegal to wholesale, and I can't remember which ones it is. And does anybody know? Put it into the chat. Okay. And you can wholesale mismanaged facilities, or you can wholesale income producing properties. All right. So because Lisa asks, do you wholesale mismanaged facilities? You can wholesale any type of property. It doesn't matter what it is: land, storage, commercial, retail, houses, whatever. You can wholesale it just as long as it's legal in your state, and you understand the laws that, fall within your state, right? Because every state's a little bit different, right? And then you can, right, you can make a little bit of money on the back end, right? So especially for people that don't have a lot of money, and they say, okay, I really want to get into storage, but I don't really know how to wholesale some facilities, right? Get out there, find the deal, make lots of offers, because it's a numbers game, and then get one under contract. And now there's a couple of different ways for you to find buyers, right? You can post it in Facebook groups, or you can, and you want to start building a buyer's list up so that when you do have a deal, then essentially you could just, reach out to them and say, hey, look, I have this deal. Would you be interested in that? And or you could always come to me if you want, because I have a list of 30,000 people and they're all interested in storage, right? So we could always partner, and I could help you to find the buyer as well too. Or you can get out there and, you get out there and just network. Go to like, your stat states, like self-storage association conferences, and let everybody get out there and network and let everybody know in the area, like, hey, I'm a wholesaler in your state. What are you looking for? And I'll get out there and I'll find something for you. And then you'll just get it under contract from the seller, and then get it under contract, and then get it underneath contract with the buyer, and then make that spread in the middle, 25, 50, up to, I have a student that just closed on a deal, and he paid $100,000 to the wholesaler. It was like a $1.6 million deal, and he paid $100,000 to the wholesaler for finding that deal. And he's okay with that, because in the end, it was going to be worth like $3 million or something, so people that know what they're doing don't care how much money you're going to be making on the wholesale side. And we're in the process right now of buying a $2.5 million, or like a $2.5 million facility, and the wholesaler is going to make like 200 grand or something. So, but if you don't have the money, or you think that this is kind of your mojo, we have a couple of students in the group that, like, that's what they do. They just wholesale. They've been wholesaling on the residential side, and now they're doing like storage. And so that's one of the fastest ways to make money, is to learn how to wholesale self-storage. So definitely in the course, there's a whole section on wholesaling. And then if you do decide to join the coaching program, which is open, the doors open in January, I can be there to hold your hand. And a lot of people say, like, oh, I just need somebody to help. That could be like what I could do as well too. Okay. And then Wendy says Indiana and Illinois. It was definitely I states. Right, definitely I states are like some of the I states. I can't remember which ones, so maybe just Google, which states is wholesaling illegal, right? And then you can see if it's in your state or not. Okay, good. I see some questions here. Let me finalize that before I hop onto the pitch. So I'm going to be getting on to the pitch, which is stacyrosetti.com/fund, and this is where I'm going to be pitching my Self-Storage Fund of America fund. Right. This is where I raise money, and then I go out and buy deals like this Max deal. Max is a 33% IRR. All right. And so we're going to go over the pitch. If you're an accredited investor, make sure you come hang out with me on the pitch, listen in. Okay. So stacyrosetti.com/fund. Now, a couple of questions. Yeah. So Wendy says she has the course. She's going through it. You do have the deal analyzer in the course. So go to the deal analyzer video, and actually all the templates in the course are just underneath that course. So for instance, like the due diligence, there's a due diligence video that I go over due diligence. And then, you'll have like a little checklist there, like your due diligence checklist, the deal analyzer video, and then you'll have the deal analyzer right there. So all your templates should be right underneath those videos. So for everybody that has the course or is interested, and I think Ariel posted out like $1,000 off the course. So if you're interested, click on that, and then you can start going through the course, and it's like so many videos and stuff, and just go, in your own time, you just listen as you go through. Okay. And then I have not added the magic letter yet to the course, but I will be adding that. Okay. I'm going to try to do that before Black Friday, but I'm not 100% sure. It's like time, but I will be adding a video about the magic letter, and then the magic letter to the course. And if you buy the course now, then essentially all the updates, because we've been updating the course as we kind of update all the videos and stuff. So we just added all my case studies in there. We added a lot of like replays and a whole bunch of new videos and stuff. So, and the deal analyzer and all kinds of stuff in there. So you'll get all those updates. Okay, let me get into Restream and just make sure. We have Todd is saying, how many days due diligence do you ask for when you're wholesaling? So we do 60 days of due diligence, and then 120 days of close. And another thing that we do as well too is we ask for a 72-day financing contingency. 72 days. So it's 60 days due diligence, 72 days of financial contingency, and then close in either 90 or 120 days. We try to push for 120 days, but if we don't, then we'll do it to 90 days. Okay. Good questions. Okay, what else? Why should we go with cap rate or price per square foot when buying the property? Oh yeah, so storage is really honestly about price per square foot. I know a lot of people in the commercial world, they think about cap rate, what's the cap rate, what's the cap rate? But the truth of the matter is that really, what's the price per square foot now and what can you take it to? It's really what you should be looking at. And then another thing that you should be looking at is really demographics. I mean, is it a growing economy? Is it stable? You don't want something that's like just going down, people are leaving, but you want to have like I always tell my VAs -1% plus, because a lot of economies, honestly, over the past like 3 years, they're just like totally, like the growth and stuff is totally screwed up because they like moved out and then they went back and it's just like me. So I just say like -1% in the last year, but maybe over the course of the last 3 years, it's been growing or something. You know, you do want something, you want a growing economy or a stable economy within that area that you're in. Okay, we've been looking at that quite a lot lately. How does your property and pricing compare to the ones for the sale near your new units? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but we do an in-depth competitive analysis, all right? In-depth competitive analysis on all of our property. We look at everything, every facility that's near us. Okay, that's what we do. And we look at like what they're charging versus what we're charging. And then we take the average of all those, and then we use that average as the number of like the value add that we can get to. And then Teresa was asking about the fund and the 50K, or actually the 50K. Yeah. So you would, like, I already said that you could start a company. If you said, okay, give me 50K, and you have 3 people or 4 people, and that's 200,000, then you would create a company and each of you would be divided based on how much you could put into that company. That would be your equity split. And then one of you would be like, the boots on the ground person or the asset manager. You'd have to come up with that operating agreement that kind of shows what everybody's going to be responsible for. Okay, good. Awesome. All right. Well, I think I answered everything. So it looks like Restream worked great. And now we're streaming like in LinkedIn. We're doing the Facebook group, the Facebook page, YouTube. So I appreciate everybody listening and hopping in. And I'm here every Monday night. So if you want to hop on, it's a new session every Monday night. Okay. And I appreciate you guys hanging in there and listening, but I'm going to jump onto the fund right now. Okay, so stacyrosetti.com/fund if you're interested. All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrosetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.